Welcome back, city builders. CodiakTheKodiak here. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down two of the newest content creator packs coming to City Skylines 2. These will be the first two pieces of paid content released for the game that are not included in the Ultimate Edition. So if you had the Ultimate Edition, just know that these two are not included. And there's actually 4 pieces of content being released. So you have the 2 content creator packs, Supply Chains by Bad Idea and Skyscrapers by REVO. We also have 2 radio stations, which I really like, Cloud Lounge FM, which I believe coincides with Skyscrapers, and Synth and Steel Radio, which coincides with Supply Chains. You'll actually hear the songs from both of those radios in the background of my video today. And all 4 of these new pieces of content will be available for you to purchase starting December 3rd. Now, I'm not necessarily trying to overhype one or the other, but I really think Supply Chains is an absolute game changer and truly hints at what we can expect in the future in terms of the asset editor coming later this month. It also contains 2 of what might be my favorite buildings added to the game yet. On top of that, REVO's Skyscraper pack really will define and change the landscape of your downtown. Now, according to my last video, over 60% of those of you who watched my video were not subscribed. So before we get started, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and do not forget to turn on notifications so you can keep up to date with all the City Skylines 2 news, tips, and tricks. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna start with the developer diary for Supply Chains by Bad Idea before rolling in and showing off the content. As many of you guys know, we do have chapters on all of my videos, so you can click ahead if you really want to, but I would really suggest staying because there's some really interesting information here regarding how this DLC actually works, which we're going to cover inside the diary rather than in-game. Because this DLC is really like a little mini Industries DLC, taking use of the vanilla functions of the game, but fleshing it out much like an Industries DLC from City Skylines 1. Also in the background of this portion, you're gonna be hearing the music from the Synth and Steel radio station coming out as well. And then we'll switch over to Cloud Lounge FM when we discuss Skyscrapers. However, one last thing before I move on is that I am going on vacation here shortly, probably by the time this video goes live. I'll actually be gone and not at my house and not at my computer. So an important thing to note is that the asset editor is actually coming out soon, a beta version for creators to start uploading their buildings to. So since I'll be gone until about the 12th of December, if the asset editor or any news related to that is kind of posted or updated, I will be unable to make a video or content on that. So while many of you are very excited and hopeful that that will come soon, I'm actually crossing my fingers and hoping that it comes out after the 12th. Now, if it does come out after the 12th, I will obviously have a video on it. However, if it comes out before the 12th and I do miss it, I won't have a video on it. Instead, I'll be sitting and waiting throughout the month of December, taking a look at everything that's been uploaded. And towards the tail end of the month, maybe before Christmas, depending on timetables of when it's actually released, I'll do a best of the best video, talking about all the best things that have been uploaded to Paradox Mods, courtesy of the new asset importer. So make sure you guys have notifications turned on for that one. Now, without further ado, let's actually dive into this developer diary from Bad Idea. Now, I've gone through and highlighted some parts of it, but then there's some parts we're just gonna read in its entirety because this dev diary is filled with a lot of information. Now, you may remember Bad Idea from other City Skylines projects, such as the US Southwest Region Pack, or the Parking Lot Roads from the original game. So if you ever use the Parking Lot Roads mod, or anything from the Southwest Region Pack and City Skylines 2, that might be courtesy of Bad Idea. Now, they say one of the mechanics in City Skylines 2 that have really grown to love is the resource flow from extractors to processors to consumers. And when Paradox gave me the opportunity to contribute my own little piece to the City Skylines ecosystem, right away, I knew what I wanted to make. So we'll scroll down here, the concept. So whether you choose to begin the game with a charming farming village or a backwater mining town, I wanted to encourage you, the player, to develop that history as the city grows. So this is the history of your city. Bad Idea kind of talks about in the previous paragraph how he likes to develop buildings from the early stages of the village and grow it steadily. So the supply chains will focus on all 9 of the base game resources. So things like coal, grain, livestock, it'll start with the base resource. So when you begin extracting that resource, you start the path to unlocking the first step in your supply chain. And you can see a little picture here discussing the actual supply chain itself. So it always starts with an industry building, and then maybe it goes to commercial or another industrial building, and then it goes to a further industrial building, followed then by an office building. So I've kind of stopped the highlights at this point, and I want to go through each part. So how the supply chain works. Let's follow the grain supply chains in the supply chains to see how it all works. Building the grain supply chain will unlock in sequence based on how much grain has been produced. So much like many of the signature buildings in the game, once you produce enough of a certain thing or build enough of a certain thing, the progressive buildings will then unlock. So the same thing can be said here. That's why I kind of think this is a lot like a little mini Industries DLC. The more of a certain resource you produce, the bigger and better the buildings you actually start to unlock here. When our little farming town has produced enough grain to warrant the construction of a cereal mill, we can start processing grain into convenience food. I'm sure everyone back in town will be happy that they will have a place to locally produce their own cereal. I like the idea of the cereal production. Again, as I've talked about many times, I've grown up here in the great state of Michigan, where Kellogg's is actually based. And I've actually had quite a few family members work for Kellogg's. So this is something that is near and dear to my heart, and I love the idea of building a little cereal factory. So let's scroll down here. Now that the cereal mill has been established for a while and the village has grown, let's make sense that a bakery and a confectionery can sell those convenience foods to locals. Not all supply chains have a commercial building. Oil, metal, coal, and rock aren't direct-to-consumer products, so they have a secondary industrial building. So here is the bakery and confectionery, and we'll take a look at this in game later, but it looks great. So now, but wait, the demand from the local bakery and confectionery shop has outpaced our ability to produce. It's back over to the cereal mill for some much needed expansions, and the main industrial building in each supply chain has an upgrade. So if we scroll back up here and we take a look at the supply chain, this actual second industrial building is actually the upgrade. So it goes from industrial to either industrial or commercial, and then back to an industrial upgrade before moving on to the office step. So right here we can see up at the top that the cereal mill has been upgraded and is a much bigger building now. After realizing how popular our cereal mill has been, the executives behind Big Grain have decided that a marketing is the way to go to maintain growth, and building a TV studio to directly market to consumers is the last step in this grain supply chain. And right here we can see that there is a TV studio edition that you can actually build inside of your city. And we'll again take a look at this inside of the game, but I love that this has added this concept that we can actually have like maybe a little movie studio inside of our city. It's like if Sesame Street existed entirely to sell Kellogg's products. There are 8 other resource supply chains to explore and build. And as you can see in the picture below, there is much to explore. So you can see examples of all of the buildings on screen right now, and we'll actually take a look at those in game in a second here. However, below it says, as you progress through the supply chain, each building tells a story. When combined with your own, builds the fabric of the world that you're creating. And I love that. I love that this DLC helps you tell stories, because those stories can help you really develop your city. I'm sure many of you have watched City Planner plays and how he builds and tells the stories inside of his city, or even $2.20. They are masterful storytellers in the world of city building, and this DLC can really help you do that in your own city. I tried to inject some whimsy here so that some of the supply chains end up in places you may not expect. I think it's also nice that we get some variety in this as well. As a result, so the TV studio from Grain, I think, is just great. I'll leave a link to this developer diary, obviously, in the description, as well as all of the DLCs and REVO's developer diary, which is not out at the time of me recording this video, so we won't be going over REVO's developer diary. However, it will be down in the description the moment it goes live. However, I do want to head down a little bit further on the page here and take a look at Bad Idea's comment here. So they say, thank you all for the support. I really had a blast working on these assets, especially since I already had a reasonably good workflow from creating a bunch of assets for the US Southwest region pack. Now, I highlighted this right here, but somebody had asked, do you think the asset editor will enable creators to overhaul / add to the default specialized industries to match this standard? So to kind of work in coincide with the supply chains DLC and the way that it's kind of set up. Bad Idea responded and said, for sure, the editor is very powerful. I'm really looking forward to its full release along with everyone else. There's a good chance that some of the cut content for supply chains will make it to PDX mods for free when the editor is ready. So if you don't pick up this DLC, or you do pick up this DLC and you really like it and you wish there was more to it, many of the cut buildings might actually make it onto PDX mods too. So that's just a teaser of what we can even be expecting on PDX mods. It's buildings of this caliber. And speaking of these buildings, let's dive in game and take a look at them. Okay, so here we are in game, and as you can see, this giant cloud is covering part of the area. However, I have it broken up a little differently than normal because this pack functions a little differently than normal as well. So on the right-hand side, I have all of the signature buildings that come with the pack. Again, all of these buildings are going to be signature buildings. So right of this road right here, everything is based on the type of industry. So we have industry up here, office, and commercial, so you know which tabs to find them under. However, on the left right here, I have them broken up by the different resource type, as talked about in the developer diary. Each resource has corresponding buildings for each one. And as we remember from the supply chain image, we have at the start the raw industry production building, and then we have either a commercial or a second industrial building, followed then by an office building up at the top. And then the third tier is an upgrade to the base building down here at the bottom. I think we're gonna use the left side to go over each building. But just so you guys can see the size comparisons between all of them, I wanted to place them multiple times in different areas, so you guys kind of get an idea of how many of each type are actually there if you don't really care about the whole organization of the actual industry supply chain. Now, first up, we're gonna start with the wood supply chain, and we have the particle board factory. Our forestry industry has highlighted an opportunity. We should open a particle board factory. Here we can use a lot of traditional waste products and turn them into wood products that are only slightly not as good as the real thing. Can be upgraded for the wood veneer production. So the actual third tier upgrade right here is down below right here, which is the wood veneer production. So an important thing to note with this DLC is it does take advantage of the actual production supply chain system. So this will take the raw resource, which is called wood in this game, and process it into timber, which is the planks symbol in game. If we come over here to our, which view is it? I believe it's city statistics. No, I think it's actually city economy. And we go up to production, you can actually see the different raw materials up here and then the processed goods. And I believe the only thing you can process raw wood into is timber. Now, this will obviously be important for figuring out which supply chains you want, but know that timber can then turn into either furniture or paper. And maybe that has an effect on different supply chains. I'm not gonna go through each one because maybe there is a difference between companies and maybe a certain company can move into a different building and make a different resource. I don't really know. I'm just here to show off the buildings to you guys, but just know that a company will move in that will process wood into timber for this building specifically. And then as they said before, you can add a wood veneer production unique, which will increase the industrial efficiency of your city by 5%. Production has been strong, but the demand for our timber products has been stronger. Using this upgrade boosts the industrial efficiency, and we can offer the same high quality wood products, again high is in quotations, by shaving off the top grain and simply wrapping it around some sawdust. So if we click on it and add it, it will add that whole section to the back over there. So if we want to take that off and take a look at what the building looked like before, it's just a conventional lumber yard. And then if we add that, it adds that whole extra building producing stuff. And we have all of these cool little tracks in the back for all of the cargo to be stationed in place. A really nice building overall. Now, next up is maybe my favorite building ever added to the game. And you might be like, Cody, it's just a conventional boomtown asset. And I'm gonna go, yeah, we don't have a lot of them. And I love these buildings. They are so core and essential to building any real American community. No matter where you go throughout the country, you will see buildings that look like this. And we don't have a lot of them in this game right now. So I absolutely love this building. And my hope is that some of that cutting floor content is more buildings that look like this, so I can make some really cool, unique downtowns or little shopping centers in my city. So here is the antique store, which is the tier 2, I guess, of the supply chain for wood in this DLC. Due to the recently opened particle board factory in town, the local market has been flooded with low-cost, consumer-grade furniture. As a result, we have an abundance of older, sturdier furniture that can be sold at a premium to those that can pay. There is a lot of witty humor in the descriptions for these buildings, and this one is definitely no exception. Now, this building will actually decrease import costs citywide by 1%, add a city attractiveness, add a percentage point of attractiveness citywide, and add +3 well-being within 500 meters of the actual building itself. And this building is gorgeous. I absolutely love it. I think it looks great. I love the little molding up at the top, just the solid brick walls. There's spots where there used to be windows when this was maybe like an edge lot, and you can see that the brick's a different color because maybe part of it was an extension, or maybe it was because there was a building right here and it got tore down at some point, and so now they're like, this brick's not as exposed as this brick, or maybe vice versa. I don't know. I absolutely love this building. It is perfect. I love it. The back side of the building is no exception. You can see here there was much larger doors here on the back, maybe when this was having a lot more cargo coming in and out. Maybe this is a repurposed building of some kind. I love this building. Now, the final tier of the wood tree is this building right here, and this is the interior design studio. We have a wealth of furniture, but are almost completely broke on ideas for where to put it all. Opening an interior design studio will surely put us on the map for any lover of fine tables. This will add +5 industrial efficiency citywide, +5% export profits citywide, and +5% entertainment citywide. And look at this building. I mean, it definitely looks like a glowed up version of the antique studio. It's definitely higher end. I could see someone placing this in a lot of different builds in a lot of different, like maybe urban to middle core sections of your city. Now, an important thing to keep in mind with this building, though, is that it is like a little left corner. So right here, we do have a flat spot. However, there is a spot for a billboard, so there will probably almost always be an alley on this side. And the same thing can be said for this side as well. There will be enough of a gap where it won't line directly up next to another building. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so next up, here we are at the cereal mill. And this is the grain path, and we've already kind of talked about this one, but let's take a look at each building here. So first up, obviously the cereal mill. We have grain, and way too much grain, in fact. All of our neighboring cities are starting to get upset about all the grain we're shipping them. Let's get in on the breakfast cereal game. We have more than enough grain to do it. So they built this cereal grain factory, and here it is right here. We got some nice rural fences. I think this will look really nice in your farm communities. On top of that, we can add the tier 3 upgrade, which is the boxing, shipping, and sugar unique upgrade. Demand has been great, sales have been better. So good that we can't keep up. Expanding into our own logistical hub will give us a greater reach that we've been needing. We can also use the room to open new product line and offer our special sugar blasted sugar brand cereal. Now, this one adds a +5% industrial efficiency citywide, and as we add it, we can tell it adds a huge section to the building as well. So this is what it will look like fully upgraded here, and if we take the upgrade off and delete it, we can see what the backside looks like before and after. Now, the commercial building associated with grain is the baker and confectionery. Our cereal mill has been working overtime. It's time to turn our city into the sweetest place on earth. Literally. We already have the perfect building picked out that we can renovate and start selling our convenience food. So it's a repurposed building that has now been used as a business. This building looks a lot like an apartment building here in Grand Rapids where I live. This really feels a lot like a building that I would see in my neck of the woods. Actually, a lot of the buildings we've kind of looked at really do, with all the brick especially, we have a ton of brick buildings here that have been repurposed, much like this one. And as we kind of take a look at it, we can see here that they've added some what look to be lofts or extra floors to store and sell products up at the top. I think this thing looks absolutely fantastic. Now, this building has a -1% import cost citywide, +1 attractiveness citywide, and +3 well-being within 500 meters. And as we remember from the developer diary, we have the television production studio. We've seen an increasing number of television stations becoming increasingly unwilling to participate in product placement during Sunday morning cartoons. They won't let me sell my sugary treats. So opening our own studio is certain to help keep that ad money flowing and the cereal sales booming. So the plot here is that because a lot of Sunday morning cartoons and Sunday TV shows won't air advertisements for things that are labeled as bad for kids, sugary treats and things of that nature, they decided to open their own propaganda machine right here in your city. So it has a +5% industrial efficiency citywide, +5% export profits citywide, and +5% entertainment citywide. And while it doesn't explicitly say it's Sesame Street, there is just something about this building and I guess the makeshift lot that they have here really feels like Sesame Street. But you can see this back entrance over here for maybe some of the side talent or people to get changed, things like that. I think this looks super awesome. Just everything about this building is in this entire pack, there's so much little detail and care taken to these buildings, and I am just so excited to see what Bad Idea didn't include in the DLC that will come for free on Paradox Mods eventually. So next up here is maybe a less fun one when you really think about it, but it is the livestock processing facility. Our livestock pens are at capacity, and the petting zoos just aren't bringing in the crowds like they used to. As the old joke says that the horse is going to the glue factory, and this is where that probably starts. This lot is really cool though. It definitely has the pens out front. There's a little shed out back, and there clearly is some kind of silo out over here for some kind of processing. And as we go and take a look here at the upgrade, you'll notice that the upgrade is the meat packing logistics center. We're getting a lot of interest in our livestock from areas outside the city. Our best butchers have come up with a solution. We should just put it all on a truck and send it to them. Genius. So this upgrade will allow you to take those all that meat that you've processed at this facility from the retired petting zoo animals and put them on trucks and send them out a bit more efficiently. So as we add that upgrade, we can see here that it really expands this building out, and it really feels like a massive slaughterhouse is really kind of what it is. Next up is one of the more interesting buildings I've seen added to the game yet, and this is the farmer's market. It's really giving like Atlantic City carnival vibes, and I really like it. A small business in the heart of our economy, and farmers are the foundation of our small businesses. Building a farmer's market will give our farmers a place to sell their all-natural, homegrown, farm-fresh foods. It's a -1% import cost citywide, +1 attractiveness citywide, and +3 well-being within 500 meters. I think it's exactly the same as all the other buildings. I don't think that there's much of a difference between these in terms of what they provide to the city in terms of unique bonuses. However, this building is super cool. I mean, as you scroll in here, it really feels like you're at a carnival or some kind of a fun fair. That's really the vibe I get from this, not necessarily a farmer's market per se, but you can obviously do that if you want. Or maybe some kind of craft bazaar or thrift market, because there is definitely some produce stands here, but we do have some people, it looks like, to be selling some t-shirts and merch. I mean, it does feel like, I guess, a farmer's market in that sense, but I think the color scheme is really selling this whole idea that this is like an Atlantic City, you know, theme park boardwalk kind of vibe. I don't know. I do love the asset. Don't get me wrong. I will definitely be working this into one of my builds somehow. Some of these lots also have some side entrances too, so don't be afraid to place roads around your buildings so that way people can take advantage of all sides of the entry points. If you have one of the extra mods, I can't remember which one it is. I think it's Extra Networks. You can actually go in and select and see where all of the invisible paths are inside the lot and see if they snap up to roads when you place roads next to them. So you can have multiple entry points into your building. Now, the last building in this chain in the office section is the Livestock Exchange. Our livestock industry has gained renown outside our city. We need a place to plan events and facilitate meetings between buyers and sellers. And that's exactly what this building does. I love the Southwest vibe and flair of this building. It feels like some kind of big ranch style office building, or you can fake it and make it feel like it's a city hall or something like that. I think this building is just super cool in general, and I think you could really easily work it into some kind of build. A content creator that I really think deserves more recognition currently, and I think will definitely utilize this building, is Mayor Cheeks over on Twitch. I'll leave a link to his Twitch down in the description. He's doing a desert themed build right now, doing hyper detailing, and it looks absolutely fantastic, and I can definitely see this building being worked into his build somehow. Now I think I'm gonna stop reading the benefits that these buildings get, but it's exactly the same as the previous two. So plus 5% industry efficiency citywide, plus 5% export profit citywide, and plus 5% entertainment citywide. Now, next up is a building that I've been asked about quite a bit. Since when they made the announcement about these packs, they actually said every single building that was going to be included, and one of them is the energy drink bottling plant. Now, I don't really talk about this ever on the YouTube channel. However, over on Twitch, which you can find a link to down in the description, I do energy drink reviews. A lot of my core Twitch audience really likes energy drinks. I do as well. And I thought it would be a fun thing to add to my channel, and it kind of went way over my head and turned into this massive tier list, which we've recently converted into a Google Sheet. I'll leave that down in the description. I'm gonna be constantly updating that one, and throughout my vacation, I'll be trying some new energy drinks as well, since I'll be vacationing in Europe. That being said, throughout the City Skylines community, I've been known as the energy drink guy, and most of the City Skylines modders and video creators and asset creators all kind of know me as the energy drink guy. And so I've been asked multiple times about this building if there's an Easter egg or this is like my building or some kind of reference to me. It's not at all. I don't think I've ever met Bad Idea, and I don't think I've ever actually had any interactions with him as well. I also couldn't find any references to me, so no, not at all. However, I am going to stake my claim on this building. I claim it, it's mine, and the entirety of the energy drink tree I am also claiming as well. That being said, a group of cottage industries have sprouted around many vegetable farms. It seems that our local produce is delicious when infused with copious amounts of caffeine. Sweet, sweet caffeine, my favorite substance on the face of the planet. So this building can also be added with a cool upgrade here, the shipping and receiving department. Our local energy drink has gained worldwide acclaim. Everyone loves it, and for some reason, can't stop drinking it, even if they wanted to. Let's set up a shipping department and investigate that last claim. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I will get a wicked migraine if I don't have my caffeine. So, maybe there's some truth to that. Probably shouldn't drink as much as I do. Oh well, so the shipping and receiving department can be added onto this building, but let's take a look at what it looks like before we add the upgrade right here, and it kind of just looks like a nice little industrial lot, and as we add the upgrade, it adds a nice facility on the backside here that does border to the edge a lot, so keep that in mind as well, but really nice building overall. Now the next stage is the sports bar. Come on down to the sports bar and enjoy some sports and grab a case of our energy drinks to take home. Because, due to legal and insurance requirements, you can't actually drink our energy drinks here. This is a really cool lot, and I think it would work great with a lot of leisure venues buildings as well. It feels very similar in that vibe, still holding on to that brick aesthetic that I absolutely love and hold so dear to my heart because that's what a lot of buildings around where I live currently look like here in Grand Rapids. They're all a lot of brick repurposed buildings, and we have what looks to be some little field hockey goals here outside for people to practice their little slap shots or something. The holes on the goals look a little too small to be for soccer ball, so I think that they're supposed to be field hockey. And I don't know, the building just looks super great. I think this would fit into a lot of like little downtown or urban corridors. Finally, we have the Big Daddy office, and that is the Bottle Cap office. A whole business office, all supporting our favorite local beverage. We have a museum devoted to the somewhat storied history of our energy drink. We have floors of sales offices. We have it all. And this building looks super good. It looks like some of the industrial office buildings that I have in the area by me as well. There's some like little funky side art that feels very like dated and 90s, but also energy drink. If you guys don't know Balls Energy, they're like the OG gaming energy drink from like the early 2000s. Really influential in LAN culture, if you know anything about that. Kind of feels like what would be maybe their corporate office, but we have this cool bottle cap here that takes over the roof. It's very funky, it's unique, it's cool. I love this rounded part right here. This reminds me of a building here in Grand Rapids. I mean, this is just super sick. I really like this building a lot. Next up is another great building that, again, looks like a building very close to where I live. There's a major corridor through Grand Rapids called Beltline, and Beltline has a bunch of different names. So it's also Broadmoor Avenue, and the Broadmoor portion of Beltline definitely has a lot of new industrial buildings that kind of look like this, where it's kind of partially office, but the back part is for manufacturing. And this is the athletic wear factory. Our town is starting to grow. Don't you think it's time for our fashion sense to grow along with it? I think this is super great. It has a little sign out front, which I feel like a lot of industrial buildings always have, that like random off-kiltered sign on the corner right there. Yeah, this building is just super nice. It looks like a nice conventional long office industrial building. It feels realistic. It feels like something around here. I really, really, really like this building. Even though it's a manufacturing building, it feels like there would be like offices inside of this building too. And we can add the upgrade for the sports shorts assembly line. Sales are through the roof, and our city is dressed better than ever. But everywhere is just yoga pants and branded t-shirts. So we can add that extension onto it. So it mostly adds parts to the back here. So instead of having a lot of that back parking lot, you can see that it adds onto the back section right there. Now, next up is a massive building. This building is huge, but remember at the beginning of the video where I said there was 2 buildings in this pack that I think might be my 2 new favorite buildings in the entire game, and it's this one. This one's the other one. And this is the sporting goods store. The good news, we have monumental demand for our athletic wear. The bad news, we have nowhere to sell it, especially not in the quantities that we're expecting. Let's fix that with the sporting goods store. This looks like Gander Mountain or Cabela's. It also kind of looks like some casinos that exist here in the state. I think this thing looks fantastic. It's also very Southwest kind of feeling, or maybe even Great Plains states, maybe even like Montana-y. It feels so perfect for what it is, like a Bass Pro Shop or your Gander Mountain. I really like the brick, the Southwest brick, or maybe even the logs that make up the building. I think this thing just looks super awesome, and I feel like you can kind of fudge it and make it feel like it's a different kind of building than it actually is. And it has a back entrance too, so depending on where you want to place the building, so if you put roads here, people will access the building from here and park on this side as well and utilize this entrance, which is super sick. Now behind that building is the final one in this cotton tree for the resource of cotton, obviously, is the Brandon Lifestyle Center. The great thing about looking good is looking good on camera. We need a place locally for our brand representatives to look good while showing everyone how good they look. And this is just a very modern hipster office with like a little skate park on the roof. There's clearly like sound stages up top for, I don't know, events or something. This feels like a Silicon Valley tech guru's like weird quirky office, and it's kind of perfect. There's also a back entrance on the back, so do keep that in mind as well if you want to connect it up to a road or some kind of access back over there. But yeah, with the skate park and everything, oh gosh, it's such a good building. Okay, so those are all the direct-to-consumer paths. So we went through grain, cotton, and animals, and vegetables, and all wood, and all the other ones, right? And so now we're moving on to the ones that don't get sold directly to the consumer. And so first we're gonna start with oil. So with this tree, remember as well that this next tier of building right here will not be a commercial building, but instead be a second industrial refinement facility. However, first we're gonna start with the first building in the oil tree, and that is the Rocket Fuel Refinery. Now that our oil industry is taking off, especially if you have the Bridges and Ports DLC and you can do all of the ocean oil refinement, which you can find my video talking about that up in the description, or I'm sorry, down in the description or up in the annotations right now. We just happen to notice that when refined properly, we have the ability to launch things really high in the air. Refining that special formula is sure to boost our profits to new heights. And this building can obviously be upgraded with the rocket propellant distillation upgrade. It's time to scale up. Our rocket fuel sales are booming, and now it's time to produce a solid boost. So we can take a look at the building right here. I mean, this just looks like a really nice oil industry asset, and as we add the upgrade right here, we can see that it adds a huge section to that and an extra smokestack for distillment. Now next up is the nanopolymer synthesis unit. Regulators have been asked about what happens to vehicles that are launched into the air using our fuels when they come back down. How do they not burn up in the atmosphere? Nanopolymers, that's how. They didn't ask us to further elaborate. Plus 3% export profits citywide, so that is kind of the difference between the commercial buildings and the second industrial buildings, that these will have a plus 3% export profit citywide. So yeah, this building looks a lot like the other building and would go really nice next to the other one. I really hope we get more industrial assets that are oil focused like this included from Bad Idea on the workshop when the asset importer is fully ready. Because this building with the other building would look super duper good together. I'm not really too sure what's going on with these floating lights here. I don't know if they're supposed to maybe be attached to one of these towers and they got misplaced. But if you guys notice that in your build, I think that is a bug that probably needs to be fixed. But anyways, here is the nanopolymer synthesis unit. This also might be because I'm playing on an early build and maybe they'll patch that before launch. Now, finally is a really nice looking office building with what looks to be like a Doppler weather radar on the back. And in collaboration with ChirpX, we have the Launch Payload Control Center. We've designed a state-of-the-art control center to keep track of all the various things we've launched into orbit over the years. So the whole purpose of this facility is to keep track of everything that they've launched into space, like all the space trash that exists. But in general, this office building just looks really nice. It's exactly what I want the office buildings to kind of look like in the game. I think it looks super cool and nice, and I think the round dome in the back is definitely a really interesting touch. One thing to note, though, is that the office buildings in this tree, so the trees for the industrial buildings that are not direct to consumer, so oil, rock, and stuff like that, the office building, instead of having, I believe it's entertainment in the previous tiers, so it's plus 5% industrial efficiency, export profits, and entertainment, it's efficiency, export profits, and then minus 5% import profit citywide instead of entertainment. Now, next up is the ore tree, and first we have the blast furnace. Now that we started pulling metals out of the ground, we better start doing something with them. the pile is starting to rust. So here is the blast furnace, which is a really nice looking blast furnace asset. I don't really have much else to say other than it looks nice and it feels nice. But we have the upgrade for the foundry, which is a unique upgrade. We've been enjoying the benefits of our metals in modern society, but we can still do better. Adding the foundry will give us the workshop space needed to rapidly expand our production to meet the increasing demand. So it has plus 5% industrial efficiency citywide, and we can add that upgrade to the building, and it takes over this slot right here. Next up is the casting fabricator. Hear me out, pouring molten metal into casts, that's where the future is. We can cast automobile parts, train parts, we could probably even do bicycle parts, which is great because there's bicycles added to the game. If you guys want to learn more about the bicycles that were added to City Skylines 2, you can take a look up in the annotations right now or down in the description and take a look at my bikes video. Would like to give you guys a little side note about the bikes video. I'm a little disappointed in that video from a personal standpoint, from my own production of that video's sake. Because I feel like I really didn't show you guys the actual bikes themselves. I just kind of showed you guys all of the update. And that's because I really didn't have a good vanilla city that works when these updates and early access builds kind of come out. Because as many of you guys know, mods like to break on updates. And when I record these videos, sometimes modders don't have an early release build of that mod ready for us to download locally so we can record using that mod. So on Twitch, which you can find a link to down in the description, I've actually been building a vanilla light city. I say vanilla light because we are using the region packs, which I think are vanilla content. But on top of that, we're also using some light UI mods like toggle overlays or zone color changer, which I can easily remove if people don't have those mods updated. So if you guys are ever interested in taking a look at what I'm building, you guys can come on over to Twitch and take a look at that city. So no move it, no anarchy, no find it, just vanilla. Now that I'm done chilling that, this building looks super nice and will work really well with a lot of these other industrial buildings as we move further along. However, let's move on to the office building now, and we're on to the steel building. This beautiful glass and steel tower is built from metals mined and smelted right here in our city. There is no better testament to our industry. Just watch out for the 25th floor. I've heard city regulators aren't too happy up there. I don't know what that's a reference to. If you guys know what the 25th floor reference is let me know down in the description, because I've been trying to figure that one out. I don't really understand it. That being said, this building is super nice. I like the lore that it's using minerals and materials made right in our city. So it's taken right from the ground and then put above the ground into a massive building that people work inside of to further take things out of the ground, you know? But this building looks great. I think it looks super cool. It's a really nice new skyscraper, which kind of goes hand in hand with the other DLC. Obviously the Skyscrapers DLC, which we'll talk about in a little bit. On to the last two industries here. So first off, we have the steelworks. We're glad to see that the city has adopted some more business-friendly policies. We're looking forward to doing great things together. Now, obviously, this language and wording is definitely a reference to the coal barons and their chokehold on many industries and villages and cities throughout the United States and even around the world, as they crush worker risings and labor unions and things of that nature. However, the Steelworks is here to benefit you in your city because they also have another upgrade for the building, which is the milling and rolling unit. Hear me out. Long tubes of metal, that's where the future is. Okay, whoa, it's not casting, it's these long tubes now? We can wrap it around in spools, stretch it out into long cables. We might even be able to use those long cables to make bridges. So as we take a look at this building, this one is huge. It is super long, probably the biggest building in this pack. I don't know if it uses as many grid spaces as the sporting goods store necessarily, because this one is a bit longer than it is wider. However, I'm pretty sure it's about double the size. So if we take a look at this building, it can butt all the way up, but it doesn't look like there's any access points on the back side. So just keep that in mind, that if you do build a road on the back like I did there, it's not really going to create an access point. But it looks like the only way you can really access the building is from the front. However, milling and rolling unit, boom, adds a huge cover to the building and just really makes it feel like a nice big long warehouse, which is super cool. So next up is the fabrication unit. A major shortfall of doing this kind of work we do is burned hands. We've tried gloves, but they end up burning too. Fabricating some machinery would surely help our operation be successful. So under the guise of helping employees here not burn their hands, we can add this fabrication unit to the supply chain. And finally, the last one here is the energy lobbying office. Sometimes the wheels need to be greased to keep the machine working. Well, here you can find the greasiest of wheels, ready and willing to help keep the machine working overtime. Again, those coal barons are at it again. Or maybe it's the natural gas lobby trying to tell you you should be cooking with gas. Regardless, the Energy Lobbying Office is here to help your city with industrial efficiency, export profits, and import costs, you know? Now, the last 3 buildings here are for the rock supply chain. So the simple rock industry that exists in the game is the concrete batch plant. Our roads could use some resurfacing, and our buildings are all starting to lean a little bit. Setting up a concrete batch plant would deliver small batches of concrete to exactly where they need to go to keep our town running. And the upgrade added for this one is the ready mix facilities. Our concrete operations around town have been attracting some attention. Expanding our operation to include ready mixed concrete would expand our reach to service more of the city. This has a plus 5% industrial city efficiency citywide, yada, yada, yada. You guys know the deal. But we can look right here and take a look, and this looks like a really nice little storage yard. But if we add the ready mix facilities, it looks much nicer. Next up is the gravity separation unit. We've been working on removing impurities from our concrete operations, and to our surprise, there happens to be quite a lot of minerals in the local stone. Separating those minerals and selling them to other industries could make a handsome sum of money. So this will actually take that and turn it into other minerals, probably ore, I'm guessing, or maybe even coal too. This building would look super great, maybe even butted up next to or right next to the previous building in the supply chain. And I haven't zoomed in very close to a lot of these buildings, but boy, let me tell you, they look fantastic. The textures, just everything about them is superb. Significantly better than many of the vanilla game assets. Again, huge hope and expectations maybe from myself. Maybe I'm setting expectations too high for the asset importer that is coming later this month. Also, just so you guys know, these lights that are on this building actually do come in prop form, but only if you have Find It. So if you do go into Find It and you head on over here to the prop section right here, you open your toggle filters panel. Again, Find It is a mod that you can find on Paradox Mods, which I will leave a link to down in the description. You can go over here if you have the DLC for the Supply Chains Creator Pack, and you can actually see that there is Lights 1, which obviously I have Anarchy turned on. Hey, how's it going? You can see that the light is right here. I placed it on the ground. I don't think I don't have the camera mod, so I can't zoom in too close, but that is the light that is, on these buildings. So you can actually find that, and if you're using extra detailing tools or something like that, you can actually place them onto surfaces like the sides of buildings, and then if you use the prop light fix, I think that'll probably make it so that the lights actually glow and work, so then you can actually have functioning lights and stuff like that. Lots of mods to make your game even cooler. Finally is one of the cooler office buildings, I think, in the game so far, and that is the Strip Mine Office. Our explorative efforts have been hampered by not having a central headquarters to coordinate them. Just the other day, we had a crew assigned to fill a hole that another crew was assigned to dig. This office building looks fantastic. It reminds me of the corporate headquarters for the company that I do a lot of freelance work for, especially because of the back courtyard. So we have this back little pond right here, and then we have like this little eating and dining area, and the company that I do a lot of freelance work for in video production, which is my daytime job. Their back courtyard looks a lot like this, and I love it. I think this building looks super fantastic. And I love it. I think this building looks super fantastic, and I'm really excited to integrate this one especially as well in my city. So everyone, this is everything that's included in the Supply Chains DLC. Let me know down in the comments if you plan on picking this DLC pack up and how you're going to utilize it in your city. Now that we're done with this one, let's move on to the Skyscrapers DLC. Okay, here we are, and these are all of the skyscrapers included in this DLC. However, I do want to preface that each one of these buildings has 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 upgrades aside from 2 of these skyscrapers. And some of them are pretty game-changing and add additional buildings as well. Also, if you can't tell, some of these are absolutely massive. So I just went ahead and actually placed the antique store, which is like a 2, maybe 3-story tall building, obviously, right? About the size of maybe like a bigger house, right? And then here's the skyscrapers. So they're big, obviously. They're skyscrapers, right? But the tallest one is this one right here, the Silver Dragon, which we'll take a look at here in a minute. These are all unique ploppables, and you can find them down here in the bottom left in the signature buildings. I also have them broken up right now into different zone types. So we have residential, mixed use, commercial, offices, and services. Before we take a look at these buildings, I do want to say that REVO will definitely probably have a developer diary, and it may contain some really crazy, unique information expansion like the one for Bad Idea. I didn't know a lot of that information about this pack before I released it, and it completely changed how I looked at it and how I wanted to explain it and display it to you guys. So I highly suggest you guys go and look at REVO's developer diary when it comes out, because as I said before, I won't be here to actually include it in my video because it's not out yet. And again, both of these content creator packs are made by modders and asset creators inside of the community. These guys are not developers, and they don't work for Paradox or Colossal Order or soon to be Iceflake. They're modders and members of our community, and City Skylines partners with them in order to make paid content. They get paid, we get new content. It's kind of a win-win. Not as much as a win-win as the free region packs, obviously, but a really great way to keep them around and funded. So I really love showing these content creators off, especially. I like them more than the expansions. I like them more than any of the content that this game puts out because they support the community. So I do feel like I'm doing a bit of a disservice for not reading the developer diary that REVO's obviously going to release about this, because REVO's been around in the community a long time, and I have a lot of respect for him. Now, is it also because he made my local train in City Skylines 1? Maybe. But REVO also worked on the French region pack as well as the new Netherlands pack, and they're both really awesome. REVO has a lot of history to him as well, and so I'd really appreciate it if you guys go and read that developer diary as well as watching my video. Now, let's actually dive on in and take a look at some of these buildings. Again, we've switched radios and we should now be listening to the Cloud Lounge FM, which is the corresponding radio for this DLC. So the first building we're going to be taking a look at here is Bell Creek, and this building is a residential skyscraper that carries a design language of the 1970s post-mid-century era. It features large parking lot for its residents with a small city park. It can be upgraded to a police station, which adds a dedicated workspace and decorative pool. And REVO even has the height on the building, which is 127 meters. I actually really like that it includes the height. I think that's super cool. This can have up to 750 households. The idea that this is a mixed-use building, not just commercial and residential, but it's residential and a service building of a police station, is super cool. So down here, we can actually add the police station unique upgrade. This police station upgrade provides a dedicated second tower for law enforcement's administration offices, as well as a dedicated parking lot for patrol cars. And it has a 48 jail capacity and 35 patrol cars. And it will also reduce crime rate within 5 kilometers by 5%. So we can add this upgrade, and as you can see, it adds that second tower. They do connect up here, and there is a little bit of a little fountain up here. And then there is a covered garage parking, as you can see. Boom, now we have the second tower, and obviously there is a ton of police car parking right there. This building is really cool, and this building right off the rip already showcases something that I'm hoping to see when the asset editor comes out later. More different types of mixed-use buildings, much like this. Next up is a really cool building that actually features 5 towers. That one is hidden back over there. It's kind of hard to show them all off at the same time, but this is the Grandview Heights, a massive residential complex that spans across multiple city blocks, which provides housing and recreational areas for thousands of residents. Complex can be upgraded with a hospital and a public parking lot and a disease control center. The highest tower is 290 meters tall. Plus 12 well-being within 3 kilometers as well. So this building can have, right off the rip, 5,000 households, which is pretty crazy. So the first thing we can add is the downtown hospital unique upgrade. So this will add 30 ambulances and 2 medical helicopters, as well as 75 extra comfort to the building. So we can add that, and you can see that adds, look at that. Oh my goodness, I did not expect this to look like that. I didn't take a look at this from the beginning. This is used in the trailer. Wow, and that adds this entire platform with some green spaces up top for trees and bushes to be planted as well. I think that looks super awesome. An important thing to remind you guys as well when we look at these skyscraper packs is that all of these buildings will have little skyscraper helipads as well, so keep that in mind when building other tall buildings, that they can't interfere with the helipads. That being said, that's not the only upgrade, and we can also add the disease control center upgrade, which provides an experimental medical care and monitors the city against emergency threatening public health. 2 helipads are reserved for medical intervention, so this will add 2 medical helipads as well as an extra 300 patient capacity, which right now we're already up to 2,200 patients, which is really big. This tower is also going to be the tallest on the block, with it being 330 meters. Take a look at that one, really adding a severe extension. There's also the support pillars right here, so this part is kind of exposed right here, missing a brick, if you will. I think that looks super nice. I am really a fan of this lot. I think this is super awesome. We have little tennis courts down here. There's lots of little parks down in the bottom. I think this looks super, super good. Now, ignore the antique store here, but the next building is the Lighthouse Point, a residential housing complex built in a contemporary design, providing spectacular views to its residents from both towers. It has various shops on the ground levels and can be expanded to feature first-class wellness centers for the residents and locals. It's interesting that this says it has like shopping in the bottom, but this building's not labeled as mixed use. There is no commercial inside of this building as far as I know. So it has a -2% import cost citywide and a +2% entertainment citywide. It also has +5 well-being within 4 kilometers. It can house up to 300 households as well. So the upgrade we have is the Wellness Center. Before we look at that, let's take a look at the actual building itself, and we can take a look here at the little grassy patches on the actual roof. I think this building looks super duper nice. I really like this one. So the highest tower is 205 meters, and let's take a look now at the Wellness Center. A multi-floor wellness center complex which features a gym, indoor areas for activities, and an open-air swimming pool located on the top floor. It says +10 well-being within 2 kilometers, +5 health within 2 kilometers, and +75 indoor recreation. So we can add that right there, and I believe it adds it to the backside here. So it takes over some of this grassy courtyard right here and places it right on top. And as we can see, there is a pool and lots of little cabanas for people to lay under. Now, finally, the tallest building in the pack, which is 600 meters tall. And this is the super tall Silver Dragon, a super tall skyscraper that provides housing and amenities for its residents. Dragon scaled rooftop floor gives the building its name. Ooh, dragon scaled rooftop floor. Hold on, we got to take a look at that. I'm assuming, oh yeah, that's this like dragon scale. Oh wow, look at that. I can't really get a super good angle on it just because of how the camera works, obviously, but wow, that looks super nice. I really like that. So that area is an observation deck, and the building can be expanded to include an education complex with its college and geotechnical institute upgrades. There's +10% attractiveness citywide, +10 well-being within 5 kilometers, and +150 indoor recreation. So right off the rip, it can have 2,500 households, and we can add the city college and library upgrade. Combining functionality of a college and a library together, this complex provides a high-quality education more efficiently. It's +2% university graduation chance citywide and +2% graduation chance citywide as well. It can also have 5,000 college students added to it as well. And it's its own building, so you can kind of place it wherever you want. It's not an attachment off of this building. So we can actually place it right next to it right here. This building does have a helipad, and it is covered in green. This is not a unique upgrade, I don't think, as well. So keep that in mind that you can place multiple of these. However, we do have the Geotechnical Institute, which is a unique upgrade. The Geotechnical Institute runs experimental research on geology and natural resources while collaborating with the educational branch and key industrial players in the city, which increases oil deposits citywide by 100%, and the same can be said with ore deposits citywide. That is absolutely crazy. So we can add this to the building, and it is, again, its own building. It can be placed separate from it, so we'll place it on the left side here, but it is unique. You can only place one of these, but this building is huge. It has these massive white lines. It almost looks like a data center if it was a singular building in a way, but I see why it's connected to this. It does kind of have a similar look and feel to it. Yeah, this tower is huge, and it has a huge benefit. Next up, let's move over to mixed use and take a look at the first building, which might be one of my favorites in this entire pack just because of how unique it looks, and that is the Docklands Tower, a contemporary mixed-use skyscraper at a modest height with commercial space boasting industrial efficiency. Outdoor green spaces across unique terrace floors provide breathing room for its residents in busy urban life. Can be expanded into a fire station headquarters. So this is +2% industrial efficiency citywide and +5 well-being within 3 kilometers. Has 450 households to start. This is not the biggest building. Again, it's only 150 meters compared to some of the other ones that we've looked at. However, it looks absolutely fantastic. It has this nice little pool here on the lower levels down over here. And then we have these nice grassy courtyards for people to come out and hang out at. We got some egg chairs, we got some lounge chairs here, and these little sun pockets. And then there is a helipad on top, so do keep that in mind. But as we can see here, the fire station headquarters unique upgrade converts the parking spaces into a fully equipped fire station. So the parking spaces down over here will go away, and instead you will have the fire station with multiple apparatus bays housing 16 fire trucks, 4 disaster response units, and 3 fire helicopters. So as you can see right here, if we actually add this upgrade, it only changes the bottom. There is some changes to the top. Obviously the fire helicopters will take over the roof up top there. Obviously the zoning grids are kind of in the way here, but we can see as we go over top of it and actually place it, we have the engine bays here, and this is all solid now as well. Also, if you zoom in really close to some of these buildings, some of them will have these revolving glass doors. There's a lot of really nice details in these buildings, but these skyscrapers are so big, I don't really have the time to individually look at each little detail included inside of them. So let me know if you found some really cool stuff or hidden Easter eggs inside of any of these buildings. Next up is the Emerald Towers, which is 130 meters. A sleek and futuristic building with a rhythmic pattern of windows, balconies, and curved structure. Emerald Tower is a mixed-use building complex that features commercial space on the lower section and residential space in the twin skyscrapers. Can be expanded into an elementary school, so it has plus 70 indoor recreation, plus 6 well-being within 2 kilometers, and plus 2% entertainment citywide, and starts with 400 households. This building is really nice. It's definitely a unique skyscraper, and much like most of the buildings in this pack, they are unique new skyscrapers. Now, when you build a downtown urban core, I never build that many skyscrapers because it expands my city so much, and I have so many citizens I have to deal with. I can't do it that quickly, and I feel like plopping buildings like this is so much better than zoning. And all these buildings are individual and unique, which really provides a lot of diversity into the skyscrapers, and skyscrapers are really unique and diverse looking. So I think it's really awesome that this pack provides that, and on top of that adds so much depth to what the building is actually providing your city. So if we go to the upgrade here, the elementary school unique, which adds 2,500 student capacity, it integrates an elementary school that is placed on the top of commercial space, while increasing the height of the shorter tower. So I don't know if that means it gets rid of the commercial space entirely or if it just goes over one of the commercial spaces, but we can add the upgrade right here, and as you can see, it adds a couple layers to the actual base of the tower as well as adding more space to this tower as well. Now the last mixed use building is Hurston Yards, which is 350 meters tall, plus 5% entertainment citywide, plus 5% attractiveness, and plus 150 indoor recreation. Redefine your skyline with Hurston Yards, a massive mixed-use urban development featuring shopping spaces, leisure, and residential areas. Expandable with an additional skyscraper and observation deck, Hurston Yards will become one of the signature icons in your downtown. This has 2,100 households as well, making it definitely the largest of the mixed-use buildings. And as we can take a look here, it has some really nice, cool geometric shapes on the front of the building here. It's definitely a bit flatter on the back, but as we look right here, it has some nice little overhang, and I really like this exposed, industrial, top part for the rooftop where all the cooling and the heating kind of goes. There is a helipad on the left tower, but then we also have this golden peak, and this is kind of the core fixture of the rooftop here, obviously, is this really unique, iconic golden top. So as we go into the upgrades, the first one is the observation deck. Outdoor observation deck, which citizens can obviously visit, plus 3% attractiveness citywide, and plus 100 entertainment. So as we add that one, it adds an observation deck to the back side of the golden platform. So that's basically all it does. I don't think it does anything else. It just adds that little wing for people to kind of come and stand out on and take a look and observe the city. There's also some benches on the observation deck, and now might be a good time to also talk about the fact that there are 3 new bench props that are included inside of this DLC. You don't need to find it, they're just included in the game. So we have Urban Bench 1, 2, and 3. The third one coming with the anti-homeless bars. So the other upgrade that you can do is the unique Hurston Tower C, a third tower expansion that can be placed within the main complex's range, so it's not attached to the building. The dedicated headquarters building for a commercial operation boosts import and export capacity, but increases garbage output in the industrial sector. So it increases industrial garbage citywide by 2%, but it increases and decreases citywide import and export costs by 10%. This tower is also 237 meters tall, and as you can see, it is basically like a mini version of the big tower. I think it's kind of cute, to be quite honest with you, but this is a unique building, which means you can only place it once. Next, we're going to take a look at the commercial buildings, and there is only 2. These are, again, dedicated commercial buildings. So the first one here is the Kansai Tower. The Kansai Tower is a stunning skyscraper, ideal for any major city. It features shopping malls, restaurants, green spaces, and a rooftop observatory, making it a popular destination for citizens and visitors. The tower can also be upgraded to include a high school, plus 2% attractiveness citywide, plus 5% demand for electronics citywide, and plus 125 indoor recreation. The observation deck at the top is really cool. I like the nice little hardwood here. I definitely think it screams and looks like a little platform for people to come up and eat at, or just observe the city as well. There's also a platform on the back here for people to come and sit out on while they're taking a lunch break or just visiting in general. And then there's also a lower one down over here, which looks like it might be connected to a food court or something. Now, the high school upgrade adds a high school with outdoor space to boost health and well-being of students. So let's take a look at where it adds that, and it adds that to the lower floors. So it kind of goes over top of this area that I thought was like kind of food courty, and adds a whole little sports recreational area for the students attending the school right there, and another additional courtyard on top. Next up is the Great Tower of Commerce, the iconic international style skyscraper that makes any city skyline unique with its presence, attracting visitors from all over the world. Housing the headquarters of commercial brands in your city, this skyscraper also boosts the industrial efficiency of your city, plus 8% attractiveness citywide, plus 2% industrial efficiency citywide, and plus 10% demand for software citywide. It's a height of 546 meters, which I believe makes it the second tallest building in the pack, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it does. This is definitely an iconic looking skyscraper for sure. It feels like I've seen it a million times, but also is the icon of the city skyline. This building also can hold up to 203 parked vehicles. I can see it on the side here. Maybe some of the other buildings did as well, and I might have missed it, but this one has 203 parking spaces. I absolutely love the bottom floor entrance to this building as well. You can kind of see the entire inner lobby area of the building. I think this looks so good and cool. I really like this building. It feels so simple and like iconic, but it's just executed so perfectly by REVO here. We also have the shopping mall Unique, which adds a shopping mall and outdoor area that attracts visitors. It also features a high-capacity underground parking lot managed by the city's administration. So it's a city-owned parking lot, which adds plus 200 outdoor recreation. So as you can see here, it takes over this outdoor parking area and courtyard, and adds this running trail up top here on top of the building for people to run or walk around, and adds a lot of underground parking right here at 820. It does get rid of that nice, cute entrance that we just looked at, sadly. However, this is really, really nice. I really like the way that this looks. I'm trying to figure out where cars would actually drive into for the, oh, it's right here. I'm sorry. The underground parking is right there. So that's where the entrance is. Finally, let's take a look at the office skyscrapers. And the first one we're going to take a look at is the Arroyo Seco building. The Arroyo Seco is a modern skyscraper that provides ample office space for companies operating in various areas, surrounded by an urban park featuring a decorative pool. The building can be upgraded to a police headquarters to fight and reduce crime. So another police upgrade on top of this building here. There's plus 2% office efficiency citywide and plus 10 well-being within 4 kilometers. This building definitely looks iconic. It looks simple, but it looks really nice. I could see this also maybe even like being like lore-wise, if you wanted to put it in your city that way, as like a city courthouse even. So the police headquarters unique upgrade adds an underground floor to house the police headquarters, providing patrol and surveillance units as well as jails and air support. It also includes a large parking lot for car-loving mayors. Has a 40 jail capacity, 70 patrol cars, 2 police helicopters, and 90 comfort. So as we do that right here, ooh, does this, what is this, how does this work? So then it gets rid of all the green space that surrounds the pool stays, but the green space around it goes away, and it's sunken down, and we have this massive parking facility down there for your police headquarters. That is definitely an interesting way to go about that. I kind of like that. This building can have up to 716 parked vehicles and 40 arrested criminals. Now this next building, we're gonna start at the bottom and work our way up. This is the Arum Spire, and it's definitely one of the more beautiful skyscrapers in this pack. This sleek and futuristic skyscraper houses engineering companies that boost local industry. Their breakthroughs in experimental technology help the city control pollution levels. It's 343 meters tall, plus 2% demand for software citywide, minus 12% industrial air pollution citywide, minus 12% industrial ground pollution citywide, and plus 5 well-being within 2 kilometers. I mean, this building is gorgeous. This is one of the 2 buildings in this pack, however, that don't include any upgrades. So there's no upgrades that can be done to this building. Honestly, I don't know what you would do to it. It looks like a massive Dyson air fan, really, in a way, but in the most beautiful way possible. I think this building looks super awesome, and I don't want to touch it, to be quite honest. Next up is the other building that doesn't include any upgrades, and that is the Finanstrum. I think I pronounced that correctly. Carries the peak office skyscraper design from 1980s Europe. It houses companies operating in the financial sector, providing favorable interest rates to local companies and increasing the efficiency of the logistic chains. It's 194 meters tall. It has a minus 25% loan interest rate citywide, a plus 5% export profits, and minus 5% import costs. It looks like a very simple skyscraper. I'm not really super familiar with European looking skyscrapers, so I guess that's kind of up to you guys down in the comments to let me know if this is looks like that 1980s Europe skyscrapers, but it looks like a pretty generic skyscraper to me. Like, I could see this definitely being in New York City or something like that as well. Next up is definitely, I don't know if it's directly inspired by that one building in New York that the name I can't remember. Let me know down in the comments. I'm just baiting you guys for comment engagement really at the end of the day when I ask these questions, but please let me know down in the comments what the name of that building is. But that one building that's in New York that doesn't have any windows. This is the Longwires Tower, a monolith brutalist skyscraper designed to withstand any disaster, allows mysterious tenants to operate with 0 disturbance. It can be upgraded to have communications array, substation, and emergency shelter to protect citizens from the environmental disaster or a fallout. It's 163 meters tall and adds plus 20,000 network capacity citywide and minus 5% crime rate within 5 kilometers. I mean, this is a big brutalist building. I mean, it is a brick of a building, let me tell you. It kind of looks like a Pez. It has no Pez candy. It kind of looks like a Pez at the top. Honestly, it kind of just looks like the inside of a Pez stick, to be quite honest. But here we are here. There's 3 upgrades in this one. So the substation turns Longwire into a transformer and battery station in the middle of the city. Power lines can be connected above or below ground, allowing power delivery to downtown. Batteries can be recharged in case of an emergency, as long as the city locally produces electricity. So as we can see here, I think it adds it to the back side here. So it goes on the bottom right here. You can see right there that there's clearly spots for the electrical cables to be connected up. Let's actually add them and see what it looks like. We'll do the above ground ones and we can see how that actually connects up to those wires. That actually is so cool. I really like that. So there's 2 more upgrades as well. First off, we have the communications array. A state-of-the-art communications array provides fast and reliable interconnected communications, which increases the range by 10 kilometers and a network capacity of 40 gigabits per second rather than the 20 that is currently equipped to the building. So as we can see here, it adds 2 towers and severely increases that communications distance. We can actually take a look here now. If we take a look how wide that telecom communication is. I mean, that's bloody the whole map. That's insane. You don't need anything else but this building. If we take off the communications, obviously there's not buildings eating away at it, but that is crazy how far of a range that actually reaches to. So if we deactivate the communications array and delete it, you know, you obviously can't see it, but like I mean, wow, just the whole map. That's nuts. On top of that, the emergency shelter is a highly capable urban emergency shelter that can house thousands of people at the expense of less available space for vehicles. So it will remove some of the, I guess, parking. I don't really see the parking options for this building anywhere, but it will, I guess, remove the thing and add 15 evacuation buses and have a 30,000 resident shelter capacity. So that goes over the backside here. So obviously it takes away some of the parking spaces in the back, so it takes away this entire larger back section for parking and adds the emergency shelter. Last two of the office buildings here, we have the Seaworthy building, a classic example of timeless international style. This office tower can also serve as a city hall that will be central piece of any urban district. You know, the city hall here in Grand Rapids kind of looks like this. The one down in Calder Plaza, it's definitely not as tall and it's a bit more boxy, but it definitely has the same style to it, which I really like. As a plus 2% office efficiency citywide and a plus 2 well-being within 1 kilometer to start as an office building. We can see here there's a little pool in the back and the concrete plaza right there, but we can obviously add the city hall upgrade. City hall maintains and coordinates different city services and budget management, including disaster response. Minus 5% city services import costs citywide and a minus 8% city service base upkeep costs citywide. So we add that, it goes onto the back side right there, boom, and takes over top of the fountain, but it doesn't get rid of it. I think that's actually really interesting. Add some new little platforms on the back there. This is really nice. I like this one. Finally, the last of the office buildings is the Corona building. The Corona is a medium-sized office tower that houses companies that operate in the IT sector. It can be upgraded into a university, which can be expanded into a complex of its own, containing auditoriums and a research wing for startup tech companies. This building is 160 meters tall. It has plus 5% software production efficiency citywide, plus 5% demand for software citywide, and plus 5 well-being within 2 kilometers. So there's 3 upgrades for this building. One of them is a non-visible one, and that's the university conversion, which will convert this building, converts the interior of the Corona into a university after an expensive interior renovation, which will add 3,000 student capacity. So let's actually add that right there. Boom, now it is 3,000 right there, and now it has student capacity here. So the first thing is the auditorium. Additional auditoriums expand the capacity of the university. This is not a unique building. You can place as many of these as you want. They can be placed multiple times within the building's range. So plus 1% interest in university education citywide. We'll place that one on the left right here. It kind of looks like a parking garage at first, and then you zoom in on it and you're like, oh, that's definitely not a parking garage. This one kind of looks more like the town hall here, or the city hall here in Grand Rapids. The next building is unique, however, and that is the research wing. The research wing houses a plethora of tech startups. Their presence and research boosts the industrial efficiency in electronics and university graduation rates. It's 190 meters tall, plus 15% electronic production citywide, and minus 5% industrial garbage citywide. So we can add that one, and it's its own tower, so we'll place it right there, and it's even bigger than the initial building, but it looks like a slightly off-kiltered version of the initial building. Like, I feel like I'm looking at like one of those brain teaser puzzles where it's like, whoa, everything's kind of like slanted. It's very cool though. I really like it, but it just looks like a slanted version of the main building, and it kind of hurts my brain to look at too much. So I think we're gonna move on. So here we are on the final 2 buildings, and these ones are both service buildings. So you'll actually find them under service categories. This first one is the Terminal City Bank. So in order to find it, you'll have to go over here to Police Administration and go to the Administration tab, and in there you'll find the Terminal City Bank building. This is a unique building, and you can only place one of them. It looked a little narrow from the front, but I promise you it's a long boy, and right here is the Terminal City Bank. This is a state-of-the-art super tall skyscraper, which will be the central piece of your financial district with its integrated subway terminal. That's right, integrated subway terminal upgrade. Enjoying the benefits of an HQ located in the city, the bank provides better interest rates for your citizens and industry. It's a 350-meter height of the building and has minus 50% loan interest citywide. It cuts your loan interest rates in half. Plus 1 happiness tax tolerance citywide, so you can increase those taxes maybe a little bit more, and plus 1% crime rate within 2 kilometers. So, you know, those bankers, they're They're kind of con artists and they will increase your crime rate. However, we can add obviously the subway terminal unique entrance, but before we do that, let's take a look at the building. You can see this like little elevator platform and that's how you like enter into it. It does feel like an evil villain lair in a way as a result of that, but maybe that was the vibe REVO was going for there. There is a helipad on top, so do keep that in mind, but there's plenty of little platforms for people to come out and stand on and take a look at the city. But as you can see here, we can actually add the subway to the bottom. So instead of it just walking up to the door, you actually can walk around and go to the door or go straight down into the subway. Finally, the last building, the last new piece of content here is the Westmont Tower. Built in international style and perfect for busy city centers, it includes a post office and underground parking. Can be upgraded to include postal service headquarters with a sorting facility and a downtown restaurant with a relaxing space for both locals and workers. It's 116 meters tall, so it's a little short compared to some of these other buildings. However, it is a skyscraper nonetheless. It's minus 5% building level cost citywide, so in order to level the buildings, it costs a little less. As you can see, it defaults to a 10-cent parking fee here, and you will find this one under communications and the postal section. We can place the Westmont Tower right there. So if we go back and click on the building, you'll see that there is 2 upgrades. Center of Postal Service, unique. In addition, the additional tower serves as the headquarters of the Postal Service, adding an underground sorting facility, increasing the efficiency of office and industrial sectors. So plus 2% industrial efficiency citywide and plus 2% office efficiency citywide. Increases the mailbox capacity by 1,000, and it adds 10 postal vans, 5 post trucks, sorting speeds increased, upkeep, storage capacity, yada, yada, yada. You guys get the drill. Boom, there's that second building, and it adds onto the platform right there. I don't think I showed off the building well enough before I placed it, so you can take a look here. It's just a little fountain right there on the front that we are replacing with this other shorter tower. Also, if you have Find It, this little prop right here, I think this is for like cleaning the side of the building or something, like it's for window washing or something, and it kind of goes along the track here. This is actually a prop that you can place if you have Find It. Now finally, last upgrade is the Downtown Restaurant. The Downtown Restaurant is a local attraction in your downtown, increasing the well-being and happiness. Plus 2% attractiveness citywide, plus 3 well-being within 2 kilometers, and plus 20 meals. So we can add that, and it just puts it on top of this building. So instead of it being a boring rooftop, it's a little platform courtyard with lots of tables for people to come out and eat and chill at. And that is everything that is included in these new Skyscrapers Content Creator Pack by REVO. Hopefully you guys found this video useful, and hopefully you saw something in this pack that maybe made you consider picking one of these up, because I think both of these packs are absolutely fantastic. And you can tell that a lot of time and care were really shown here in this pack, and it also highlights some of the more advanced features that actually exist inside of the game, in terms of giving your buildings a bit more depth and variety internally when it comes to mixed-use buildings, or the supply chains and how those functions can really play out to build the story of your city. Now, hopefully the asset importer doesn't come out while I'm gone. I know many of you probably want it to because you want it here as soon as possible. But if it does, you obviously will not have a video from me because, as I said before, I will be on vacation for probably the next 2 weeks. Speaking of that, I have a vacation to go pack for, so I'm gonna let you guys get on with your day. I've been Kodiak the Kodiak, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.